So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And we're coming to you around the world tonight on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, Simul Radio, and Simul TV. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. To find out about the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. On Channel 21 on Simul TV, it's www.simultv.com. I don't know the channel that we're on iLaunch Radio. iLaunch TV. We're supposed to be getting that very shortly. We're going to be on Comcast later on this month. And, of course, we're here in Hamilton on Cable 14. My guest this hour, X Zone Nation, is someone who has been in the alien abduction scenario longer than anyone else I know. He's also considered to be the world's leading expert on alien abductions, and I'm talking about Derrel Sims. His 38-plus year of field research has focused on physical evidence and led his groundbreaking discoveries of alien implants and alien fluorescence. As a former military officer and CIA operative, Derrel has a unique insight into the alien organization, which he believes functions similarly to an intelligence agency. Derrel is also a compassionate and skilled therapist who has helped hundreds of alien experiencers all over the world come to terms with what they've witnessed. Now, these are just some of Derrel's UFO career highlights. Like I said, he discovered the alien implant phenomenon and pioneered research protocols, discovered the phenomenon of alien fluorescence, has in his possession the largest collection of physical evidence of alien-human contact, including skin samples, DNA samples, X-rays, MRIs, sonograms, objects with possible forensic traces, and so on. First abduction research to initiate a reaction from alien species via post-hypnotic suggestion. As head of the Houston UFO Network, oversaw the double mass abduction of 1992. Worked reviewed by the Royal Society of Chemical Engineers in the United Kingdom. Development and practice of a multimodality approach using specialized techniques in memory retrieval and intervention therapies. First UFO researcher to be invited to lecture on alien abduction at the AMA at the conference at John Muir Medical Center. Developed an extensive questionnaire for alleged alien experiencers employing a variety of analytical techniques. Invited to join PARSEC, a European organization of doctors, physicists, psychotherapists, and mental health professionals, and the list goes on and on and on. I was thinking, when was the first time I spoke to Derrel Sims? Well, our producer checked it out, and Derrel, it's going back to 1997. Welcome back.
Good sakes. 1997, but we've been around for a while, I guess.
We sure have. So how have you been since you and I last talked, and what's new in the world of alien abductions?
Well, I've been doing very well, and family and everybody's doing well.
Excellent.
Gosh, lots of strange things popping up in the alien abduction world. I got a call from one of my abductees the other night. He's a retired assistant attorney general, and he's an abductee and admits it openly. And long story short is I had him on TV about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, and they were amazed at the information he was giving, and then they asked me to hypnotize him, which I did, and then he gave more information. And of course we checked it for credibility and so on. But the most important thing was at the end of his experience, talking about UFOs coming over a nuke base where he was at and so on, was the fact he started describing this hybrid woman that was interfacing with him. And the more he described her, the more I just kind of smiled. And he was wondering, does he think I'm crazy or what? And after he finished doing that, I had him doing drawings and everything under hypnosis and so on. And he drew the hybrid and everything. And after he finished, I said, there are several things I do to evaluate a person, whether they're telling the truth or lying or whatever,
right,
or hallucinating. And I said, I want to show you something. And I showed him a picture of the hybrid entity 30 years before he knew it existed. It's the exact same one that was found in Houston, Texas, and seen by numerous people, and we've had the story for a long time. And of course, he was just stunned at the picture. He said, "Oh my God, that's her! That's the one!" And that's pretty good. But anyway, what's fascinating, what's the most interesting thing that happened to him? He called the other night and said, "I've got injured so bad." He said, I talked to a specialist, and he said, don't go to the VA hospital. Go directly to this hospital. And the doctor had called in advance and set him up so he could walk right through. And the doctor that examined him said, it looks like somebody took a baseball bat and beat you half to death in the stomach.
Oh, my God.
And he said, I have no idea what happened to me. Of course, they called the police and everything else. And the medical people did. And, of course, the abductee, this retired attorney general, said, it's hard to tell these cops what happened because they're not going to believe anything alien, and I don't know a lot of what did happen. But the bottom line is that his stomach, he sent me pictures of it, and it was swollen. It looked like somebody literally took a baseball bat, and like some mafia guys worked him over. It was just terrible.
What was the cause of this, in your opinion?
In my opinion, of course, I haven't told him yet, but the fact is that we see injuries similar to this on different parts of people's bodies, and the reason is the aliens sometimes will bring you through a wall. In rare cases, they'll walk you through a door, open the door and actually walk you out.
Right. And
sometimes they'll bring you in through the ceiling. Well, when they bring you in through a ceiling, they often will drop you from 2 or 3 feet, something like that, onto the bed. And if you've got one of those old water beds, it'll literally shake you, and you're just like, whoa, it'll wake you up, so to speak, out of your experience. In his case, I suspect they dropped him from about 8 feet up, and you don't always hit the bed.
Ouch.
You hit different parts of the bed, and it can hurt you really bad, like a baseball bat beating you.
Like that old saying, it's not the fall that hurts, it's the sudden stop.
That'll do it every time. Every time.
Derrel, you've got in your past you were a military police officer and a CIA operative. What was it that changed your life to the point where you became so interested in the alien abduction phenomenon that you're known worldwide as the alien hunter?
Well, the alien hunter is a term given to me by a journalist who was interviewing me one day, and I think it was 1992, 93 in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And she said, she listened longer and longer and longer, and she said, "Oh my God, you don't study the alien, you're hunting them. You're the alien hunter." And it showed up in her story on a man named Randazzo, his magazine, UFO magazine back then, which is now defunct, but it was a big alien head with blood red letters, alien hunter on it, and the story of Derrel Sims and all that. But the thing that really took me into the phenomena, of course, I try to stay away from it as much as possible, because my events started in 1952 at age 4 and ended violently at age 17, and after that, I had no further events, so I thought, wow, right, this is great, I'll just ignore it and it'll all go away. That worked real well until my son came along, about 6 years old, and came and got him. And when that happened, I woke up in the middle of the night with that same exact feeling that I had for every abduction encounter. I realized they were there, that they had actually left, and I ran past my son's room in the middle of the night, about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, found him standing in the dining room looking out the back window, screen memory, of course.
Sure.
Looking out the back window, and I watched him quite a while, and I said, "David, what are you looking at?" And he said, the little red light.
All right, stand by, Derrel. We've got to take our first break. Exo Nation, the one and only Derrel Sims is our guest this hour. He's known around the world as the alien hunter. Now, he's going to be at Contact in the Desert this year. The website is contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. That's contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. More about alien abductions and much more when we return here to the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, Keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shamans worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Derrel Sims. He is the alien hunter, and he is the world's leading expert on alien abductions. The website that we'd like to point you to tonight is contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. All right, Derrel, when we last left, before I had to take my first break, you had gotten up between 2 and 3 in the morning after having the same feeling you had after your experience. You went to the kitchen, and your son was looking out, I believe it was the back door, and yes. You asked him what he was doing, and he said, looking at or watching the red light.
Yeah, they had just brought him back.
Oh, my goodness.
And when I ran through the house, I knew he wasn't in his room. I didn't even look. And his event was so horrific. In fact, the family begged me to work with him hypnotically, and I refused for weeks, and I did not want to know what I knew I would find. And when I did work with him, of course, it was crystal clear. And the long story short is he had a horrific series of events, and the worst part of it was that. He told me about a week or so later, he said, Dad, my consciousness, now this is a 6-year-old child telling you this, my consciousness has changed. I no longer care for people like I used to. That was frightening to me to hear that from my son.
Did you feel the same way after your abduction?
I didn't. I ended up with broken ribs and all kinds of other problems I never told anybody about. But when my event was over, I was so glad. The reason was because the entities in my last event were 5 entities that don't show up in UFO literature. They don't look like they're not like they're not like the alien because they're other than the alien. They're involved in the process. If there was an SS among the alien, it would be it. And he, unfortunately, met the same entity I met at age 17. He met him at age 6.
Wow.
And the effects of that were, I'm going to give you one example, show you what I'm talking about. Unbeknownst to me, my son had taken a compound bow, pulled it back with his feet, and fixed it so that it would actually point toward his door. So if they came back through the door, that broadhead arrow would go right clean through them. The only problem is it could have gone through anybody else that opened his door in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And, of course, you don't think of that whenever you're worried about your events. You just worry about making it go away or stop. But that's the kind of seriousness that he had. He never wanted to see that event again.
Now, the fact that you had been abducted by aliens a number of times, and now your son, at the tender and the wonderful age of 6 years old, had the same experience. Does this show you as an alien abduction expert that there's something in the genes? Why do you think that it was you and then your son?
Well, the something we discovered when I first started really leaning on the first of all, that event right there changed me from a victim father to an alien hunter. I mean, you mess with me and I could live with it. You mess with my children and I'll come after you. I don't care if you're from another planet.
Right.
It won't make me a bit of difference. I'll find you and I'll expose you. Anyway, what this did was to cause me to look into the phenomena very succinctly. And one of the things we discovered back in the 80s was that there was a link between certain people in the family. They don't need everybody in your family, and sometimes it's just the girls, sometimes it's the guys. But it's rarely in the same family, in the actual family lineage. To have a father, son, a brother, and something like that is very rare. In our family, it's a brother. I got two brothers. It's me, my son, and myself, and I think my dad. Anyway, that was four males in one family. That's just astounding. Normally, people tell me it's just me and my family, and that's it. And I'll tell them, if you'll go talk to your grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunts, quietly, privately, and tell them a little bit about your experience, you're going to be stunned to find out that they've had them too.
Well, who are these aliens, and what do they want?
That's the $64,000 question. Everybody thinks they know, but I think there are two primary views out there. When you boil it all down, one is the Sitchin's view, which is a fairly common view that those that came down from the heavens came to Earth and they did all these things with mankind. Basically, they turned mankind into slaves and mining gold for them and so on.
Okay.
There's that narrative, and that's based on some Sumerian documents and Warkan and other documents and so on. The other view is very similar to that, which I am more attuned to, and it is that, in fact, that generics part of the story is true. It's just the narrative that he gave off is not. First of all, it's not a correct rendering out of Hebrew, and it is along the same lines. So, to me, if you go with either one of the views, you're still in the ballpark, because they're same basic stories all over the world. And the ancient Hebrew version of that is that they were kicked out of heaven, not asked to leave, and that caused war. And basically, they came down to earth because this is a very special place chosen by the one that kicked them out. And they came down here to wreak havoc. And one guy questioned me on this the other night, and he says, well, give me an example. And I said, well, okay. I said, there are 7 primary alien entities. The reptile, the praying mantis, the Nordic type, Bigfoot, and the little gray, and the taller gray called the Doctor, et cetera, et cetera. And he says, yes. And I said, well, there's a number of things you ought to ask yourself some tough questions about when you think of that. And one of them is that all the DNA from every one of those beings seems to come from planet Earth. So the question one has to ask, if they're from another planet, quote unquote, why did they come here to get the DNA, take the DNA somewhere else? In other words, you don't get reptile DNA from probably Venus. You'd get a real good suntan if you tried it. You're probably not going to get Nordic or human DNA from probably from Saturn. Earth is the cosmic Walmart, so to speak, for DNA. And when you look at the DNA of each of these entities, and especially, this just underscores what I'm saying, they did a DNA test on on some Bigfoot evidence up in Nacogdoches, Texas, not long ago. I even offered to send them some samples we had, a urine sample and a fingernail and some hair samples I've had since the 90s. And long story short, they did their analysis on the DNA testing they had, on the DNA material they had.
Right.
They found that the DNA, of course, it's simian or ape-like creature, which, again, you would get on planet Earth. And number two, it had modern human woman DNA. So how does one get, quote-unquote, alien DNA of a simian creature that you find on planet Earth mixed with modern human woman DNA?
Well, is it possible now? And I'm just throwing this out there. Like, you know, we've all heard about these strange and weird things that happen where we have cross species. Is it possible that in our past we had a Neanderthal or an early type of man who actually cross-mated with an ape?
Well, that's possible, but the fact is, the thing that stands out to me is the fact these beings here that we're looking at, these so-called alien beings, are in fact transgenic beings made, hatched, cloned, or manufactured for the purpose of interaction with mankind. And the reason I say that is because that's the first thing that struck me when I was 4 years old, and the thing was in the room, and he was leaving, and I didn't know it. I didn't know what was going on. I woke up real quickly.
Sure.
So I'm leaving the room, and as I thought to myself, he's going to bump in the wall, I didn't know he came through the wall, and he's leaving through it. He heard me think that, and he turned around, and I heard him think, and that really stunned me because his mouth never moved, and I heard in my head, it's awake. But when he turned around, I saw he had no genitalia and no belly button. When you're 4 years old, you don't think like adults. You think like little kids. I wondered where his TT was at. Where's his belly button? After you think about that for a while, you realize if he didn't have a belly button, he wasn't born. He didn't get here the way you did. He was hatched, cloned, manufactured, or made. And the fact is, if he doesn't have a genitalia, it means he doesn't procreate.
All right, stand by, Derrel. We've got to take our news break. Exo Nation, Derrel Sims is our guest this hour. Visit www.contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. And Derrel and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. You can always send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and check out all the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Eli Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Don't forget the X Chronicles newspaper is available for you with our compliments. It's been published since January 1990. Believe that or not? Wow. www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. A couple of programming notices. The X Zone TV show is going to be on Cable 14 in the Hamilton, Ontario area starting February the 14th, and then the TV show will be on twice a week, Tuesdays at 9:30 and 11 p.m. on Thursdays. Also, starting this week, later on, we're going to be on iLaunch TV throughout the United States, as well as 50 other countries. And later on this month, it's going to be a busy month, we're going to be on Comcast. So there you go. All coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, through our good friends at Simul. Derrel Sims is our guest, www.contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. Derrel, when you were describing the alien that you saw in your room, you noticed that the alien didn't have any genitalia or a belly button. Is it possible that the alien was wearing some sort of one-piece protective bodysuit?
Oh, that's I suppose that's possible, but there was ambient light in my room, and I could see him very clearly. He had a very tiny mouth, just a tiny slit.
Right.
And he had no ears, and he had two little holes for what looked like where a nose should have been, but they were just tiny. His eyes were perfectly round, I mean, very large, inch-and-a-half eyeballs, and to me they looked like lens covers. They didn't look like eyes. They were very stunning, very captivating.
Could it have been a helmet of some sort?
I just, later, many years later, one of my abductees begged me to show her how to defend herself because they threatened to get her kids, and I did, and she assaulted her captor and tore his eye cover off on 2 occasions. And what she saw was a red stippled screen with 5 little white squiggly light lines running across that red screen, which indicated those particular beings were probably biomechanical.
So what did she do with the lens cover?
Well, unfortunately, the reason I did that was, one, for her point, was to help her learn to defend herself. But I had my own greedy motivation, and the purpose was I wanted her to bring Freddy Krueger's hat back through the dream. I mean, if she could bring that eye cover back, it's obvious that Freddy Krueger, so to speak, was real at that point. Use that as the metaphor. And unfortunately, she told me the first time, she said, "I'm not very strong." And she tore it partly off, and she could see underneath it a red screen. And so I said, well, I can fix that. And so about a month and a half later, they came back and got her again. And unfortunately, they brought the doctor with them. That's the one that's a lot smarter. The little ones got an IQ of about 80. And the doctor type looks just like him, but he's taller, and he's definitely in charge. He's got an IQ about 135, 140. So the next time, I knew a lot more about his neurology and how he functioned, and so I had her actually take him over using the system that I had given her, and she called him, and it scared him, and he just slowly took steps toward her, and finally she reached around him, and I installed my strength in her, and she was able to hold him. And I asked him if he had resisted, and she said no, and she said he had never had anyone take him over before. I mean, that's their business. That's not what we're not supposed to be able to do that to them.
All right. So how did you give her your strength? Let's stop there for a second.
There is I can probably illustrate it a little better. I'm a martial arts fourth degree black belt in Shotokan in Goju-Ryu. I told my wife one day when we were teaching years ago that so I'm going to show you something different. We went down to school, and I took two people. One was a green belt, which would been, I call him a professional student. He's never going to get anywhere. He's tough. I mean, he can be if he hits you, he's going to hurt you. But and he's obviously better than most of the students that were there. And we had a brand new one who was a computer geek who barely could punch and even walk. I mean, he didn't know what to do at all in martial arts. So I took him aside and gave him some instructions on a hypnotic level and using a specialized technique. And then I put the two together. Of course, obviously, the green belt was just going to destroy him without any problem whatsoever, easily. That young man, the computer geek that didn't know how to do anything, beat the green belt so bad that the green belt was actually depressed over it. Because, how can you do that? It's the first time the guy ever fought in his life in a martial arts class, and he beat this guy. And I said, well, the reason he beat you is because I installed my skills in him.
But how do you do that?
Well, I'm not going to give away the show. The point is that it's possible to do it. My wife is standing there. She's a third-degree black belt, and she just was her mouth hanging open. She's, oh, my gosh, what in the world are we training for?
Gotcha.
And I said, well, the point is that this is not permanent. It's temporary. I said, but you can do this. It's not without precedent through history, but the point is I did this for this lady, and she was able to hold this little guy, tore his entire eye cover off, and held it. I wanted her to hold it so tight in her hand, nobody get it out. And that would have worked fine if this had been the first event instead of the second one, because the doctor came over at that point, saw what was going on, and all of them got a hold of one of her fingers each and pulled her hand open until they get the eye cover out of their hand.
Now, did she go to see a doctor and get a medical report? Because if somebody uses that much force on your hand, there'd be bruising and tissue damage.
Well, she was definitely had a strain in her hand, no question about that.
But was it documented by a medical doctor?
No, there was no injury to her. She was very. Let me give you an example.
Sure.
Sometimes we will place a person for a demonstration between two chairs, and you can literally stand on them if you do the hypnosis correctly, and they will not have an injury in their back or anything else. But if you don't give the suggestions properly, the person could get injured. I gave the suggestions very well to her. She definitely felt the strain in her hands because she said, I couldn't believe I could hold on that strong. It took one on each finger to get that thing out of my hand.
But without the proof of the event happening, Derrel, the no medical report to substantiate the claims. For people listening who may be listening for the very first time about alien abductions, this would seem very far-fetched.
Okay, let's take it further.
Sure.
A number of people told me that what you did was hypnotize that woman and make her believe all that stuff. And I said, okay, that's fair. It's a fair thought.
Okay.
But about 3 years later, an incident happened in Varginha, Brazil, where several alien entities were captured by the police, by the military, and by a military police officer. He physically caught one, and he later died within 6 months of his of the capture. But the others didn't suffer any injury because they those particular entities because they used nets and things like this. But everybody said the reason you hypnotized her to believe that alien had a red thing under his eye and all that. And there's two reasons I knew that was not an accurate statement. First, when the Varginha aliens, anybody can look this up on the internet, because the city of Varginha actually put a statue of the alien entity in the middle of this, literally a fountain with the entity sitting on it. And in that, the reddish colored, dark reddish color with 3 large bumps on their forehead, and their claws are like 4 inches long. And this is the part that stunned everyone. Every one of them had bright red, stippled, screened eyes. Every one of them.
But Derrel,
that was 3 years after the event.
But if the police in Brazil captured an extraterrestrial, wouldn't that have made worldwide news?
It did. In fact, I have in my possession, because I had first of all, I went down to Brazil and looked at the case, and myself, I've been there twice, and so did John Mack and other people. It was worldwide news. It really was. But I wanted to look at it from an intelligence point of view. What could we prove intelligence-wise? And the 3 little girls, the little school kids that saw this entity that called the police, call her mama, and they call the fire police and all that. The family was approached by the government of Brazil and offered a home and a substantial living because the woman's not married.
All right, Derrel, we're going to have to take our final break. Please stand by. When we come back, let's finish this story. And then I want to talk to you about alien implants. X-Zone Nation, Derrel Sims is our guest this hour. www.contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Don't forget, February the 14th, we start here in Hamilton on Cable 14. We're also going to be on Comcast, iLaunch, and, of course, Simul TV. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
So I was watching the X-Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. SIMULTV.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
SIMULTV.com.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
SIMULTV.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com.
SIMULTV.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Derrel Sims is my guest. www.contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. Derrel, we were talking about an alien event that happened in Brazil. Now, you actually went down there and investigated the case, and you went down there to investigate it or to use it as a way of gathering intelligence. So what were your findings?
Well, one of the things I found that was stunning was several people, I had a lot of friends down there, and investigators, and they were interested in this as well. And, of course, they loved my background, former military police, private investigator, ex-CIA, and they started telling me all kinds of neat things. And I said, okay. Your Secretary of State, Warren Christopher, came here within days of that event. I said, what would he there for? And they said the United States awarded Brazil part of the space program of building a floor in the platform for the space station. And they all looked at me kind of funny, these Brazilians, said, we don't have a space program. I said, you do now. I said, where did the body go? And all the bodies, and they said, well, the CIA took it, of course. And I said, how do you know that? I said, well, the government did. I said, after Warren Christopher came, obviously he brokered the deal and got the craft and the bodies. And I said, well, first of all, I need to see evidence that he was here and all this. And they said, they handed me a stack of papers an inch thick and said, it's all done for you. It's here. So I have those with me, and they're unfortunately in Portuguese. But the second thing is that they described the troops that showed there the next day after the Varginha incident. The next morning, our guys landed. They said, but they weren't military. I said, how were they dressed? And they described them. I said, tell me exactly what the material looked like on their greens. They said they had no insignia. I said, I understand that. Tell me exactly what that material looked like. And they told me, and I laughed and laughed and laughed. I said, when I was in the spy school, as one of the instructors, a martial art instructor in the spy school in the CIA, those are the exact clothing that they wore for their ops, for training, and so you can never identify them. I said that is in fact the CIA, and they got all their stuff. They got everything, and Brazil got billions of dollars worth of work on their new space program, which they don't have. They do now. And that was rather fascinating. One last thing I want to say about the red eye thing that clued me into something was wrong with his picture. When I was at age 4 in that event, when I was a little boy, I was not paralyzed, wasn't anything, wasn't scared, wasn't anything. I just couldn't understand why the skinny little guy didn't have any clothes on. It was wintertime. It was freezing. How could he? I just couldn't understand that. And at that point, his eyes began to move a little bit because there was enough light in the room from our little well house. There's a little light out there. I could see easily the entity because he's bright white. He was not gray at all.
Right.
And I was amazed. I could see something reddish under, almost a glare, a little tiny red glare underneath the edge of his eyes because I was lying down and he was when he first came in, when I first turned around, I sat up and I was like, whoa, I could see something red under his eye. That's what made me think those were eye covers or something. I never did know for sure. And that's what gave me the idea about having the lady tear the eye cover off this guy.
Gotcha. How did you get involved with alien implants?
That's another sad story. At age 12, 1960, I heard a strange. It's not like you wake up. It's like you're switched on. Mm-hmm. And I heard my mother speaking, which is obviously not true because my mother and dad lived the other end of the house. There's no way you could have heard that in the middle of the night. I mean, just I could hear her as if she was whispering in my ear. And it says, Derrel, go outside. There's a new star in the Pentine. I don't know what a Pentine is. Never heard of anything like that. But when she said it, I knew what it was. Mm-hmm. Well, this is obviously the aliens mimicking your mother's voice to get you to go outside because you're fixing to get abducted. So I opened the back door, walked outside, and saw a brilliant light on not far off the horizon. I'm in Alamogordo, New Mexico, 1305 Ohio Street. Never will forget it, age 12. And it was, I hate using the illustration out of a movie, but it was like the movie Phenomenon when he saw it bright light and he's like, whoa, next thing he knows he's laying on the ground. Well, the light got bigger and bigger and it was getting coming toward me so fast, I thought it was going to hit the house. And next thing I know, I woke up in a circular room with my legs elevated 11 degrees and the same cosmic skinhead that got me for the first time, there he is again. And there's somebody bigger than him, the doctor, I guess it was, standing next to him. And then there was a very bright light above me. And that's another reason that abductees are terrified of bright lights, especially dental bright lights. And I could hear them talking, and then the doctor at that point noticed it, and he shut me off. They can do that. What they don't know is that you can turn yourself back on, and you don't have to let them know it. And so I listened to them talking, and I was horrified at what they said they were going to do to me. And I started crying. I literally was crying on the craft because I couldn't understand why they would hurt a little guy like me. I mean, I'd never done anything bad to anybody. I don't know why are they doing this to me? Next thing I know, the doctor type brings over this long, about an 8 to 9 inch needle-like device with a silver sphere on the end of it. They inserted it in my nasal passage and jammed it as hard as they could. And I say as hard as they could, hard enough it broke the bones of my nose. And there was no anesthesia whatsoever. I screamed. I mean, the pain was unbearable. And they pulled it back out and had blood on the end of it, but it didn't have the silver spear. So that was how I learned about alien implantation.
Why wouldn't they just shut you off and do the implant instead of doing this while you were conscious?
Well, first of all, they didn't know that I could still hear them. That's how I learned what they were doing.
Okay.
In fact, Dr. Bob Wood was when we're doing the shoot for the Alien, the movie, the TV series that I did with 3 other people, the Uncovering Aliens. He said, I want to ask privately a question from you. I want to know how far the alien is above us. And I said, if I answered that, Doc, I said I'd get laughed clean off the set here. And I finally told him, and he was horrified. And everybody started laughing. They said, there's just no way that's true. And except Dr. Bob Wood, he was the only person that wasn't laughing.
Wow.
I said, they're no more than 15 to 50 years ahead of us.
Well, let me ask you this, Derrel. Is there an alien presence on this planet? And if so, where is their mothership, for lack of better words?
I think the best answer to that is there is an alien presence here. They obviously come here fairly often. Mm-hmm. The problem one has to ask, and you have to ask this as an investigator, is where are all the ships? I mean, they should be seeing them all the time. They are seen occasionally, but not like the fact that the people are having events. And we have a Native American Indian conference. We just I put on the conference myself with my friend Deborah Burns, and it was a sold out event. And we're going to do it again in 4 months, another one. And the point is, I did the Cherokee part of it because I'm Cherokee, Irish, and Celtic myself. And the point of the Cherokee, they always believed that the UFOs traveled under the water, in the riverways and so on. Mm-hmm. The fact is, they use the waterways, the Great Lakes and oceans, and I think that's where 99% of them are at.
So, in your opinion, are there UFOs circling the planet right now? And if you had to guess on what they'd look like or how big they'd be, what would be your guess?
I don't have to guess, and I can say categorically this is true, and then I can send you different places to go find the truth out yourself. A man named Norm Bergstrom wrote a wonderful book called Ringmakers of Saturn. And he is a NASA scientist, and he gave impeccable evidence that they're right there in the Jovian and the Saturn system. They're right there in the rings of Saturn. You can see it. You can. Wow. If you got a reasonable telescope, you can find them. But you can just Google it, Norm Bergstrom, Ringmakers of Saturn, and go look yourself. But
there's nothing orbiting Earth.
Well, there may be.
I see.
But the thing I find most credible are the sightings on the moon, craft that are so huge. One of them, we had 8 people on that particular craft in a mass abduction in 1992, and that craft was 50 miles thick, 600 miles across.
And it was on the moon?
It was near the moon. And the reason we know that is because someone was filming the moon during the time of the mass abduction. Unbeknownst to us, it was doing it in Japan, and we got a copy of the film.
Hey, Derrel, I hate to do this, but we've run out of time for tonight. I want to thank you for joining us. Take care of yourself. Be safe. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Derrel Sims, go to, let me see, where the heck did I put it now? I was so enthused in the interview. contactinthedesert.com/Derrel Sims. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios, not on the moon, but in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Eli Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.